Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to show you how to make from a normal clutch from a car such a wall clock. For the wall clock you will need a clutch, a wall clock mechanism, some numbers and material which will hold the wall clock. Let's get started. Because my clutch was new, I got some prints from the manufacturer on it. With fine sandpaper I brushed all the clutch fencing, so it will become even. There was also this print, but I decided to leave it because the sandpaper would just scratch the metal. After I brushed the clutch, I cleaned it with brakes cleaner, so the clear coat will hold better. After the cleaning we are going to prepare the clutch plate. I decided to cover with clear coat just the clutch facing part, so I taped and covered the other part of the clutch. In my project of the wall clock I did not disassemble the clutch to get out the hub from the clutch and to place the wall clock mechanism instead of it. I decided to glue the wall clock mechanism from the other side of the clutch. So a problem was appearing: how to locate the hands of the clock. There were two options to solve this problem. The first one was to make the axis of the wall clock mechanism longer, and the second one was to bend the clock hands, so they will get into the hub. I decided to use the second option. Because my hands for the clock had a decorative short end, it was impossible to place them into the hub with it, so I decided to cut them off. Because the metal of them was so thin, I could cut them off with normal scissors. The hour hand and the minute hand are black, so they are difficult to see on the dark clutch plate. I decided to paint them, but to be sure that the hands won't strike the eye from the bottom of the hub, I decided to leave the base black. So I taped the hour hand and the minute hand that the base will be the same, and the second hand I covered so that the base will get painted black. The clutch plate I covered in clear coat. If you don't have a possibility to cover in paint or clear coat on fresh air, so be sure that the room in which you are working is getting enough fresh air or ventilated. The hour hand and minute hand I covered in silver bronze. With the taping of the base it will be black after putting it off. Because the second hand was red, you could notice it on the clutch plate very good, so I decided to paint the base black. Also I decided to paint black the screws and nuts. After you finish your painting, give it some time to dry. After all elements are dry, we can continue the work. Turn over the clutch plate to glue the wall clock mechanism on it. In my first plan I wanted to use epoxy, because it is much simpler. With epoxy you have time to corrugate the location of the wall clock mechanism. Sadly, I didn't find any epoxy at my home, so I used instant glue. If you're working with instant glue, you should be very accurately covering with instant glue the ring of the hub and using some points of the clutch as a direction, we glue the wall clock mechanism on it. After the glue is hardened and the wall clock mechanism is sitting stable enough, we can continue the work. Turn the clutch again. For the numbers, I used 3D chrome stickers for cars. On my wall clock I decided to place the number 12, 3, 6 and 9. With a piece of tape I marked the spot where the number 12 should be. Like on a normal clock I placed all the other numbers. With a triangle lineal I stepped 1 centimeter from the inner side and then stick it the number 6, 9 and the last one the 12. To mount the wall clock on the wall, I used a piece of chain, which I fixed on the clutch with a screw, a spacer nut, through the holes that were on the clutch. It is very practical to have odd numbers of chain links in the chain, because then you have a central chain link which you can use to hang on the wall clock. Be sure that you screw everything tight together. Here comes the tricky part. Now we'll try to bend the hands of the wall clock. Firstly, we should know in which way the hands are assembled. First one is the hour hand, second one the minute hand, and third one the second hand. All angles are made with 90 degrees. So if you're making your first angle on the second hand, you're bending it directly on the base. On the minute hand, you can also bend it on the base. But on the hour hand, you need to step a little bit from the base, but not more than the radius of the clutch hub is. If not, your hour hand and minute hand will cross over, and this will cause that the wall clock won't function. Because the hour hand is assembled first, the second angle should be the lowest one to other angles. Now we just measure how deep the wall clock mechanism in the hub is. In this case, these are about 3 centimeters. Because the axis is a little bit higher, then the wall clock mechanism will bend the second angle exactly at 3 centimeters at the hour hand. On the minute hand, we'll bend the second angle on 3.3 centimeters, and on the second hand on 3.6 centimeters. If we bend everything correctly with 90 degrees, the hands of the wall clock should not cross over now. First one, we assemble the hour hand. After it, the minute hand. And then the second hand. Now we can take our wall clock in the hands and on the tuning wheel of the wall clock mechanism tune the clock to check if the hands are crossing with each other. If nothing is crossing with each other, we can insert the battery and set our time. You see, the wall clock is working well. Please attention, the wall clock is very heavy, so if you hang it on a wall, be sure that the point you're hanging it on is strong enough to hold that weight. Thank you for watching my video. I hope it was useful for you. If you'd like the video, please click the like button, leave your commentary and subscribe to my channel. There will be interesting videos in the future. Have a nice day. Goodbye.